The story of Hanukkah begins in the year 3622 from the creation of the world. The Greeks ruled the land of Israel and tried to introduce idolatry to the Jews. Antiochus imposed decrees of persecution on the Jews. Their goal was to disconnect the Jews from their Judaism. They prohibited observing mitzvot, desecrated the temple, and stopped the offering of korbanot for 3 years. Some of the things imposed on the Jews included the prohibition of studying Torah, observing Shabbat and festivals, and performing circumcision. They forced the Jews to eat non-kosher foods and participate in idolatrous worship. They also desecrated the temple, halted the sacrificial offerings, and defiled it by building altars for idolatry, sacrificing impure animals in the temple, and even renamed the temple as Olympian Zeus. They threatened the Jews that anyone who violated the decrees would be put to death. For example, it is told about Hannah and her 7 sons who refused to bow to the idol and were brutally murdered one after the other. Despite the fear and threat, many Jews secretly maintained their faith and tried to continue observing the commandments. The Greeks were not satisfied with just the decrees. They tried to convince the Jews that their culture, with sports games, theaters, and rituals, was the right way to live. Study Torah, but also take care of your body, do sports, go to stadiums, refresh your mind with competitions, and go to shows. They said you can't study Torah all day. Some of the Jews were tempted and joined the Greek culture, but many others remained faithful to the Torah and the commandments. These decrees were particularly severe and were directly aimed at the foundations of Judaism with the intent to uproot Jewish identity and replace it with Hellenistic culture. Antiochus, the king of Greece, sent Nicanor to fight in Jerusalem. When they arrived, they killed many Jews and built an altar for idolatry in the temple. Yohanan the high priest heard about this. He was furious and came to Jerusalem. He asked to speak with Nicanor in private and killed him. When Yohanan left, he killed over 700,000 Greeks. When Antiochus heard that Nicanor was killed, he sent the wicked Bagris. Afterwards, the 5 sons of Mattatyahu went out to fight, and once again Bagris and Antiochus came with all the ministers and kingdoms to fight against the people of Israel. This is how the Hasmonean revolt began. A small group of brave Jews, led by Yehuda the Maccabee, went to war against the massive Greek army. Despite the low odds, they believed in the power of God. During the battles, Yehuda encouraged his fighters, saying, "Remember, God is with us, not by might nor by force, but by my spirit, said the Lord." They fought with strength and surprised the Greeks with brilliant tactics and exceptional bravery. After 3 years of struggle, the unbelievable happened. The Jews defeated the mighty Greek army, drove them out of the land of Israel, and recaptured the temple. On the 25th of Kislev, the Hasmoneans entered the temple ready to purify it and renew the service. But then a serious problem was discovered. "We don't have pure oil to light the menorah," cried one of the Kohanim in despair. They searched every corner until suddenly a cry of joy was heard. "I found a small jar of oil, sealed with the high priest's seal." It was only enough for 1 day. But, by a great miracle, the oil burned for 8 consecutive days. In memory of these miracles, the sages established the holiday of Hanukkah for generations to come every year. When we light the Hanukkah candles, we remind ourselves of the power of faith, the victory of light over darkness, and the ongoing miracle of the existence of the Jewish nation.